Have you ever felt your faith was too small?
As if your prayers were lost echoes in endless space? Have you looked to the sky, seeking a sign, a reply, but found only cold silence? Strength depleted, and God seemingly too far, too distant to touch?
If you'll ever experience that moment, know this: you are not alone.
Throughout the journey of faith, even the grandest lighthouses sometimes waver before the storm. But this is the greatest truth, a truth etched into biblical history, that mercy actively seeks us out, right where we are weakest.
Today, we won't tell tales of glorious victories, but of deep falls, profound doubts,
and how the merciful hand of the Most High lifted us back up. Let's return to a stormy night on the Sea of Galilee. Not a night of fervent prayer, but one filled with terror.
In that rocking boat was Peter. He was chosen by the Lord, promised the keys to the kingdom.
But that night, he was no steady leader, but merely a fisherman, beaten down by the waves.
And then, a miracle happened, or rather, an ultimate test of faith. Jesus walked upon the water.
Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water.
That was a most powerful declaration of faith. The Lord called him.
And Peter stepped out of the boat. Can you imagine that scene? Feet touching the water, the miraculous sensation. But then, the wind blew stronger. Waves crashed, spraying white foam.
In that instant, Peter no longer looked at Jesus. He looked at the storm. He looked at the waves. He looked at the impossibility of the situation.
And what happened? Oh no, I'm sinking!
In that moment of ultimate weakness, when faith had shrunk to a speck,
No, Scripture records that immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him, saying,
You of little faith, why did you doubt?
Notice the order. Jesus didn't begin with a reprimand. He began with an act of salvation.
He reached out his hand before uttering a word of critique.
God's mercy doesn't wait for us to pull ourselves out of the water. That mercy is the hand that grasps our wrist.
The very moment we begin to sink into the depths of doubt.
Peter's faith was a public collapse. But there's a more personal, profound doubt.
after Jesus' resurrection, the disciples were astonished. But Thomas was not present for that first appearance. When they recounted, "We have seen the Lord," Thomas set a rigid standard for his belief.
Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, unless I put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will never believe.
That wasn't unreasonable stubbornness. It was a fervent yearning for truth, a refusal to accept.
When Jesus appeared a second time, he did not rebuke Thomas for his lack of belief. He did not judge the necessity to see and touch.
What did he do?
He walked directly to Thomas.
Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe.
Jesus did not demand that Thomas discover the proof himself. He provided the proof.
He actively presented the wounds of sacrifice directly to the most skeptical among them.
Mercy does not require us to possess perfect faith before approaching Him.
Mercy is Jesus saying, I understand your doubt. Come here. I will show you proof of love you cannot deny.
Thomas obeyed, and as those fingers the sacred scars, Thomas uttered, "Lord,
my Lord and my God."
Thomas's weakness did not lead to rejection. It led to a deeper confession. A recognition of Jesus' divinity that perhaps those who believed from the start couldn't perceive in.
If we seek the ultimate collapse of faith into despair, we must turn to Elijah.
The one who challenged 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel and called fire from heaven. He was the pinnacle of spiritual power.
That mighty prophet fled into the wilderness, ending up sitting under a broom tree and praying for death.
I have had enough, Lord. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors.
I am no better than my ancestors. That was a self-destructive cry from a man who had just witnessed the greatest miracle.
His faith had frozen in loneliness and fear.
An angel of the Lord came. The angel did not rebuke Elijah's weakness, nor remind him of the victory on Mount Carmel.
The angel simply placed a loaf of bread and a jar of water before him.
Elijah's faith was not revived by an eloquent sermon, but by the most basic care: food and water.
God's mercy understood that, sometimes, a broken soul needs physical sustenance before it can receive spiritual encouragement.
After he ate and drank, Elijah fell asleep. When he awoke, the angel returned and said, "Faith was not restored instantly. It was restored through small steps, continually sustained by mercy."
God did not demand Elijah feel strong immediately. He only asked Elijah to act upon the nourishment provided.
And then, when Elijah arrived at Horeb, the mountain of God, God revealed himself.
But in the profound silence, in a gentle whisper.
God's mercy is that tender patience. It knows when to uplift with act.
When we look back at these stories, we discern a clear pattern. God's mercy is not a reward for perfect faith. It is the foundation for imperfect faith.
Consider how Jesus treated Peter. When Peter sank, the Lord did not say, "I cannot help you because your faith is too small."
Instead, he said, "You of little faith." The phrase "you of little faith" implies he still had faith, just weak.
He did not remove him from the boat, he pulled him from the water. And after that event, Jesus restored him.
Mercy is the restoration of purpose. It takes your weakness and transforms it into motivation for service.
Now, let's turn to yourself. Perhaps you are in your own storm.
Perhaps you have prayed for weeks, months, for a grave illness, for the mending of a broken relationship, or
the silence of God grows too profound. You begin to ask yourself, am I holy enough? Does God even hear me?
But mercy is not measured by the greatness of your past or the perfection of your present. Mercy is measured by His faithfulness.
In loving you even when you doubt. Your faith does not need to be a blazing torch for God to see. It just
views. If your faith is just big enough to realize you need God, then it is enough.